hang him. What you call Brian D. LeBeckwith? This is Lord have mercy, boy. I
Mm-hmm.
hate to think about this. Our country, damn. But anyway, Brian D. LeBeckwith killed Medgar Evers. Brian D. LeBeckwith sitting up in court. In walks the governor of Mississippi. What's his name? Ross
Barnett.
Bruce
Barnett.
Barnett, yeah.
Comes up and put his hands on Brian D. LeBeckwith's shoulder and said, "Don't worry about nothing. Ain't nothing gonna happen to you for killing that nigga." The governor of Mississippi goes in a court and tells this man, "Don't worry about nothing. You ain't getting no time for killing this nigga."
And he didn't.
The governor, and the man never got no. Well, eventually they got him.
Yeah.
Years later. That really got to me. That I don't know more than probably anything that I. Anytime the governor comes into your court, walks right in and tell you, "Don't worry about nothing," instead of trying to spread peace, and harmony and this type of thing. Told him that, and no, very seldom you'll see it written anywhere, or very seldom they may be taking that clip and thrown it away by now. But that happened.
Well, it all teaches us a lesson. You got to be registered to vote. And there's so many people that don't register to vote. And something we fought for years and years is to make sure that, it's justice in the courts. And now in Mississippi it was different. In Virginia it was different. In West Virginia, you should always, if you're summoned for court duty, you go and serve, do what you can.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been story after story of us not serving on juries and then complaining about the sentence or whatever that juries hand down. You have an all-white jury, and that you just don't have an all-white jury. And of course, there have been a lot of court decisions that spoke to that particular problem. But it seems like a lot of blacks don't want to serve on juries. Just don't want to serve on them.
Yeah, but I see where you coming from. I understand exactly where
Yeah.
you're coming from. But I'm talking about a person, regardless of where he was elected and who elected him,
I understand.
to be able to do that, and no
Right.
one questioned it. No one questioned it,
Right.
except black people. No, not one
And
white
at that
person.
particular time, we didn't have the voting rights laws that we have today.
Right.
You can't, deny a person, the right of voting. And I think that these are some of the lessons that our young people ought to know about. That because you didn't have, you had segregationist judges, you had segregationist juries, and I think that they ought to know that. And when you're called to serve on a jury, you serve on a jury. But Medgar Evers died for us to get that particular right, and it's a lot of us don't appreciate that fact.
Well, you talk about segregation and jury and so forth, and we should serve on jury duty because lots of people get railroaded in jury.
Oh yeah.
I guess the last trial I was on jury, I never forget this. There was a Hispanic guy they must have about 8 or 9 different charges against him, where you really should have only been 1 or 2. And on a Friday afternoon, the case came to the jury. I was on the jury. I was the only black person on the jury. This one guy jumped up. He wanted to be the foreman, so he was the foreman. And he said, this is a pretty clear case. The guy is guilty. So they had more or less like a straw vote. And the first time around, everyone had the guy guilty on all the charges, all of them. And I refused to have him guilty on all of them. So remember my second time, and I still refused to go. And then the judge more or less made a decision where we can come back Monday morning or Saturday to finalize out, the jury. They finally agreed to get him on one charge instead of the rest of them. But the mere fact is they are willing to hang this guy just because he was Hispanic. Because I really felt the guy was definitely innocent. But these people just, whether it was intentionally or because the guy was Hispanic, but what I'm trying to say is that's the reason why we should be on juries. Because you look at the jury, look at the verdicts of these trials of the black people in Jefferson County. And the sentences they get, the sentences they guard is outrageous compared to a lot of them. And look at the prison population. I guess the prison population of blacks is about a third or higher here in the state, and we're only about 3 or 4% of the thing. We are really being railroaded in the judiciary system. We have to get involved in it.
Well, not only in the justice system, but specifically law enforcement. I was on a grand jury, and was getting the evidence and everything. And the state policeman, the West Virginia state policeman, quoted this fellow who was being accused of saying something, and I said, "No, he didn't say that." I know he didn't say it because I knew the fella, and I knew he couldn't use such words. I mean, the accused was a Hispanic that I know didn't know the language that well. But this was a West Virginia state policeman that had sworn that this person had done something. And I said no. And it just so happens there were 2 blacks on the jury. And they said, no, you're not going to convict this man like that. You aren't going to charge this man like that. So the guy got off. But I think about that all the time and how law enforcement at the state level,
Yes, sir.
had built up this lie.
Well, I won't go too much in detail here on this right now. But one of these days, you got to look at my record. I got a doggone record this thick that the Justice Department, FBI did on me. Talked to people, tapped my telephone, read my mail, and lots of lies. I mean, outright lies in there. You'd be surprised, I mean, they had stuff on me that I know good and well. I had no involvement at all in. And they did tap my telephone many times. They read my mail. They accused me of the black cats, but just like what you said, Talbot, I lost promotions and everything at work because of my record, and I didn't realize it was there until I finally got a copy of it.